My name is Werner Zinkand. I am one of the chairmen, of the 5 chairmen of the German MPN group. I, by myself, have PV, and I'm doing the job for 5 years now. It's voluntary. And the German group has been in the group which was organizing the Belgrade meeting. We had a meeting in London in April, and the German group had a special problem. For we don't need to take money from pharma industry, and so this meeting is provided by Pharma, and we had to discuss it that we don't need it in Germany. For the German system is different. We get money by law. We have to get financed, and we can ask for money for the Selbsthilfegruppen. And that's the reason why I should explain it here just shortly. In Germany, the MPN network, we have about 600 members. The members have to pay a little fee that's for the year about 30 to 60 euros. If they can't pay it, they don't have to pay it, but we expect them to pay it. And there are other members who pay about 500 or 2,000 euros a year, for they can't afford it, and they say we will do it for others. And that's the ground level for the German MPN group. We are getting money from our members. That's different to other countries. In USA, they don't take it all. And we had also the same discussion, should it be absolutely free, but we decided for special reasons, I don't explain, but we decided to do it this way. That's the ground level for us. And the bigger level, or the bigger amount, is coming by a social law. In Germany, we have 2 types of health insurance companies. There are private companies. They cover about 10% of the market. We are about 80 million in Germany, inhabitants, and 10% are covered by private companies. And the rest, it's about 72 million, it doesn't matter the number, is in legal insurance companies. They are obliged to go in. And these legal insurance companies have to pay by law to Selbsthilfegruppen, that's what we call us, to groups like us. They have to pay if they need money. And these legal companies collect about 50 to 60 million of euro a year. And we ask the insurance company if we have a project, if they give us money. And for us, it's very easy. I would say it's rather easy. It makes some work, of course, but we are planning every year a meeting of our members, and the next meeting will be in Bonn. The next year it will be in Potsdam, near Berlin. And we know there are about 100, 150 persons are coming. We plan a program with the doctors. We calculate what it will be about, and we tell the insurance company, and they say, okay, you pay 10% by yourself, and you get maybe what you need. And they just told us for the next year we get 30,000 euros to plan the meeting in Bonn. And we did brochures, we met our web page, and we asked them, could we get, and we get it. And it sounds very easy, and that's the way it is. Yeah. And the only thing we have to do, we call the persons in the insurance company, we tell about our project, we make a calculation, and you can do it if you are experienced in one evening. And after 3-4 weeks, you get an answer, and the answer is very short. It's just a letter of 1 page. You don't need a lawyer to understand it. Everything is easy. They only want, please tell them that we finance the brochure. yeah, of the prince maybe, yeah, or tell them I just organized a meeting of 16 persons, and it was about contact to patients on telephone, or in regional groups. We have groups all over Germany, and if somebody new is coming in, and they wanted who will teach you, how many persons will come, how much is your hotel, and you get the money. And afterwards, I tell them that we did it. Bitte.
I have a question about this law, which looks wonderful. When did you get this law, and how did you do that? So did you need to advocate to get it, or it has been like that forever in Germany?
It has to be. They have to. The amount was increased. Yeah. In the beginning of the year, they said every person who is in the legal insurance company has to pay €1.05, and it's getting up. I don't know what's the background, but it depends on special figures. And if these figures increase, the amount will increase. Yeah. And the companies are glad if we ask them, for they want to get rid of the money.
Now, I get that, but my question was, so there is a legal rule saying that the insurance companies have to give you this money.
It's a legal, sorry?
A legal rule, a law or a regulation?
Yeah, it is,
okay.
It's a law. It's a
and
law.
When was this law passed, and how did it work? Did you have to fight for it, or it was just because you are you have enlightened politicians who decided about it?
No, we didn't fight for it. Sorry, I can't explain it exactly, but I think it's in the political tradition of Germany. It's a social law, and it's a fight between the different powers, yeah, and it's a part of social democracy. Yeah, and we have a big concentration at the moment about insurance companies. Yeah, and it was during Schröder's time. Yeah, when he was Chancellor, they changed everything to get the finance clear. Yeah, and there are still parties. There are different opinions in the politics. Yeah. One say it's better to make it private. The other say no. We make a legal system, and we have to share it. You have to care for me. I will care for you. Yeah, as long as I can, or how high I can. Yeah, and that's it will change, and it's a big discussion about it. And that's the conclusion. It only fits for Germany. And Bill will tell about, yeah?
Yeah, but that was a recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there are only 9 minutes left.
I think it might be all right if we went a little bit over, because this is the last session, but I don't want to take too much from your lunch. Again, my name is Bill Crowley. I work for the MPN Research Foundation in the United States. I am the Director of Development. I am not the Director of Fundraising. Some of you may think of the word as development. We're an organization, a nonprofit organization, works for around the world, strengthening low-income countries and improving economic prospects for their citizens. That's not the development that I'm talking about. The development that I'm talking about is working with individuals, developing that relationship. That's why we call it development in the United States. That's why we don't call it fundraising, because believe it or not, this is not about money. This is about working with people to develop strong relationships, hopefully so that they will give you money, but it is more about the relationships in the beginning. We want those people to be friends. And they know that if we talk with them about our program, and if what we're doing meets their needs, and we need money to accomplish, they will help us with that. But that's the first step that you want to take, is who are you going to ask for money? Who are you going to talk to? For the MPN community, and I'm assuming the CLL community, it's probably the same thing. Patients, family members, their friends, people who have been impacted by the disease. People who have no connection to these diseases are probably not going to contribute to your organization. But you need to identify through your patients, through their family members and friends, who other people could contribute and get involved in your organization. The second thing, you have to know how much you're going to be asking for, or how much you're going to need. And that isn't driven by the fundraising aspect. That's driven by your budget. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you creating newsletters, a new website, a marketing program, outreach, branding, whatever it is? It costs money. People need to understand what you need. If you don't know how much you need, you're probably not going to get what you need to accomplish your program. A lot of people, when they talk about fundraising, they think about a gala or a golf outing or a 5K event. My experience with MPNs, we do not have a group of patients in one area to support an event like that. We have a couple of events where they have a lot of friends. There's a 5K in one state and a hike in another, but those are rare and few and far between. But we did create a program called Team MPN, and this last weekend I had an MPN patient from the West Coast of the United States, ran in the New York City Marathon, and she asked her family and friends to contribute to the MPN Research Foundation to support her efforts. She went to our website, created a giving page. Her friends were directed there, so gifts came to us through that effort. And I've got a number of those types of events. But events aren't the best way to raise money, believe it or not, because that's a one-time deal. People are going to give, they've gone to an event, a nice dinner, they've done their thing, and they've gone home, and that's the end of it. You want a long-term relationship with people, and to do that, it takes engagement. To make sure that you're able to do that, it's very simple, really. I've broken it down into 4 areas, and I call it being get real. Real being the anachronism. The R in real is research. You want to know how many gifts it's going to take to raise the kind of money that you need. And that's the science of fundraising. One of the handouts I gave you, they call it a gift range calculator. I was brought up to say that this is a gift pyramid. And when I say gift pyramid, if you look at the second and third columns, the numbers on the top are smaller than the numbers on the bottom in a pyramid. This I set up for a $100,000 campaign. The final number is $128,000 because, as we all know, budgets tend to go over budget sometimes, and it's very difficult to go back to donors and say, the $100,000 program is actually going to cost us more, so you need to give more before we can do it. They don't like that. But this is the science, and the science says to raise $100,000, you need one gift of $25,000. That's the first line along the top. Now, to get that one gift, you should be able to identify 5 prospects, because not everybody who is able to give, has an interest in giving, and is philanthropic, will be able to give at that time. So to make sure you get that gift before you begin, identify those 5 people who you're going to ask, and understand that a no is not the end of the conversation. But this can be, you can get this on the bottom here. It talks about fundraisingcoach.com and nonprofitacademy.com, both divisions of the Concord Leadership Group. You can download this and use it in your fundraising. After you've done the research in that respect about how many gifts you're going to need, the next thing you're going to have to identify is who's going to fill those 5 people to give you $25,000. Those people are in your mailing list. The people are who attend your meetings, the people who receive emails and that sort of thing. You know who those people are. You just don't know what level of giving they're going to be. This is when you bring in your board or other volunteers who may know people, and you list all the people who you have contact with on the second sheet, this prospect screening grid. All their names are on there. You bring 3 to 5 people in a room, and you ask them to rate the people as well as they can and feel comfortable doing on their capacity to give. Do these people have the money to give, and how much do you think, what level do you think they're going to be able to give? The second one, are they philanthropic? Not everybody with money is willing to give it away. Just because they have money doesn't mean they're going to give it to you. The other thing is even if they have money and they're philanthropic, do they have an interest in your program? They might not have that interest. They may be giving to other things, so you have to determine that. Now, when you look at it, the best score is 15. Each column should be rated 1 through 5, 5 being the best in that column. Anybody above a 12 should be called the next day. Those are your best prospects. But if you have prospects who are very high in capacity, very high in philanthropic interest to give, but are not interested in your program or have very little interest, build that interest. If there's an opportunity, if there's a volunteer that you can bring in, just because they're low in that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad prospect. It just means you got some work to do. But once you engage those folks, once you're, and that's what the E is for, getting to those folks to, I call it just donor relations, or building that relationship. And that involves phone calls, emails, letters. If they're close geographically, ask them for coffee. If they're a high prospect, have them dinner with them or something like that. One of the things that I do that is relatively inexpensive, we just did our newsletter. I have a list of about 125 people who I've identified as the best prospects for the foundation. I took them out of the mail stream for the newsletter. They did not get the newsletter through the direct mail through our printer. The printer sent me their 125 newsletters. I inserted a personal letter from me. Dear Joe, this is our recent newsletter. This is what's in it. This is of interest to you. Thank you for your support. See you soon, Bill. That sort of thing, that personal relationship. They know when they get that, this guy was thinking of me. And when you ask them for money the next time, they will probably give more than what they did the previous time. So it's that relationship, engaging them. Research takes about a month or two months, depends on where you're at. Engaging could take a year, depends on the size of the gift, and it depends on how much they've given in the past. And it may mean asking for a smaller gift before you get to your target gift. It's just part of the conversation. That's the art of fundraising. The shortest period in the fundraising circle is the ask. It's a one-time sit-down. And there's two outcomes. But I know that when you're thinking about asking somebody for money, it's kind of daunting. I have never gone into an ask meeting where the donor did not know why I was meeting him or her. They know, or they should know, it should not be a surprise. Now, they don't always say yes, because there's a lot of reasons for them not to give at that time. But if it's a surprise to them, you haven't done your work. And the number one reason people do not give, they're never asked. You have to ask them. They don't necessarily voluntarily give for the most part. If they say yes, and this is the L part of get real, love them, like them, engage them, keep contacting them, tell them how much you appreciate their gift, report back to them about the project they've supported, about the work you're doing, about how successful you've been. You should not ask them for another gift until you've contacted them at least 5 to 7 times. You don't want to be that person who has a reputation of, every time I see this guy, he's asking me for money. Because that's not the reputation that is going to continue a long-term relationship. They're just not going to, they're thinking you're taking advantage of them, and you are. You want to build a relationship. You want that longer term. The hard part is when you get to that ask and they say no. That's not the end of the conversation. All that means is if you've done your job and they have the capacity and they're philanthropic and they have an interest in your program, that just means at that time they're either not interested in the project that you're doing, but most of the time it means that they have other commitments that they're trying to reach. It just means that you have to do a little bit more engagement and find out more, or find out when a good time is. So no is not the end of the conversation. Now, in closing thoughts, I will have out by the tables by the Mediterranean room information about websites that are helpful for people in fundraising. The first one on this list is the Chronicle of Philanthropy, the Foundation Center, Network for Good. Those are the 3 on here. There's about a dozen of them. They will give you webinars and information about how to write a donor letter, how to think about a year-end appeal or a grant proposal, or the things that I've talked about, and other things involved with fundraising. These are resources that you can reach online. They're relatively easy, but be warned, once you reach out to them and get on their email, you're going to get contacted just about every week from each one of them. So your email will be filled with letters of, oh, sign up for our webinar, or that sort of thing. Many of them are free also, but some of them you pay for. But my philosophy is you get what you pay for. If it's free, they're probably selling you something. But look at those resources, and they should be helpful. Now, as I end up, half of what I just told you is wrong. I'm not sure which half. You guys all come from different philanthropic traditions. You come from different countries. You come from different size organizations. What you can do with the information that I've given you depends on where you're at. It might not be helpful at all. It may be partly helpful, or it may hit the nail right on the head. I'm not sure. That's for you to decide. But as you're going along, and it looks like we don't have time for questions, if you have questions that we haven't had a chance to follow up with, grab me by coffee or somewhere as I'm walking around, or if you get back to your office or your home and somebody says, you didn't ask him that question, my contact information is in Who's Who. Please feel free to reach out. I'll help out as best I can. Appreciate you coming.